What's up, guys? Peepo here. Um, yeah, that was special. That was special. Anywho, today's video is going to be about this gem right here. Oh, wait, I can't say gem because there's two, plural, gems. So these gems right here, which is the Epic Prequel, the newest head from Epic. It is the Hawk from the Birds of Prey series. The Birds of Prey refers to the two newer heads from Epic, and that's the Hawk sequel and the Hawk prequel. Sequel actually came out first, prequel came out second. Um, your sequel kind of has a little bit of a different setup than this one does, simply because the sequel has what's called the laid back profile. Actually have it over there, but um, everybody should know more or less what the sequel looks like and how the sort of offset that it has. So just getting right into it, your prequel has kind of your generic or your more known offset, whereas the sequel will have just kind of going out straight, and then about 2/3 of the way up the head it curves back away from that straight line. So like if you were to put the head flat on the table, pretty much most of the head will be really close to the table, and then it will curve away from the table, which is built to have that kind of mid-high pocket, which a lot of shooters, a lot of players out there feel they need a mid-high pocket. So Epic said, you know what, let's come up with a new idea and kind of cater towards those sort of players. So that's really what it came down to, and it I mean, I think it was a good idea, but eventually they were going to have to come out with a normal head to kind of combat the fact that not everybody needs a mid-high pocket. A lot of people a large majority of people use kind of that mid to mid-low pocket. Even if they feel they're more of a shooter or anything like that, not as many people use high pockets. So they came out with the prequel, which in contrast to a lot of heads out there, so say about here, a lot of heads will keep coming straight out more or less and then curve back about a third, if not a quarter of the way up the length of the head, and then it'll curve into its offset. The big difference between this and those is that pretty much the shaft ends right here, like right where my finger is, and as you can see, the curve for the offset is already pretty much going the way that it needs to. The head is designed for that kind of mid pocket setting. I feel that it kind of can either have a high pocket, mid pocket, or a low pocket, but because of the curve, you actually, if you look at it pretty close, there's almost like a straight line right here, and that's where that mid pocket kind of comes into play. So I'm going to read what they actually have in the little label that goes in there. It says, the Hawk prequel improves upon the conventional curved profile, and the Zone 3 pocket creates a perfect mid-pocket for unmatched ball control and a quick release. Designed for the one-handed dodger looking for a quicker release, the prequel's design offers one of the deepest pockets in the game, which most of the time, if you pretty much, that's just referring to the fact, like I just said, the offset starts a little sooner, and because of the curve of it, it puts that ball as far away from your shaft, which creates the centrifugal force of the ball staying in it, and the ball's as far away from the center of rotation when you're cradling and whatnot, that you can really feel the ball a lot more than in comparison to a decent amount of heads that are out there. And because of, the a lot, like it says on it, the one-handed dodger, or the person that needs to get that ball out real fast, is somebody that more or less uses a mid-low pocket. So it kind of sits right there. And it also has this design, and I'll get into it in a second, but it has flex IQ. Pretty much everything that Epic makes has a flex IQ, so it's flexible to a certain degree. The prequel is manufactured with Epic's proprietary blends of materials, polymers, plastic, creating a super tough polymer, right there, with maximized stiffness, flexibility properties, and UV protection, which basically means you know how a lot of heads kind of fade or change color once you've had them in the sun a while. That's because the plastic's weakening and the sun's affecting it, so it's supposed to combat that. The Hawk Prequel comes in a flex IQ of 3, which I believe makes it the mid range for them. I think it's 1 to 5 for the heads, so it's a nice mid range for the flex. So pretty much sets it there. It is universal spec. That does not come in high school spec. You may, in 2 years, the high school specs are going to be pretty much obsolete, and there's going to be almost no sense in making them anymore. A lot of heads, I feel personally, I feel a lot of the technology should just go to college legal only, not so much universal, and then you'll have a lot more compact but legal heads, like kind of like the Professor was a little bit of ahead of its time, but also could have been designed a little bit differently. That's a really good college legal head. But so the Hawk Prequel strings up fairly well. I mean, the sidewall holes, it's the same amount of sidewall holes as the sequel did, but it strings up really well for either your mesh or your traditional. I'll actually have the pattern for the mesh at the end of the video, and I think I'll even have a quick video of the traditional. If not, you can find the traditional video in the Trad Method Monday that's talking about the bottom tie off that I used in this head. But for both of them, the sidewall holes and everything just makes it perfect. The top holes are fairly evenly spaced. You can have a nice tight top string, especially if you go into that second sidewall hole. When you kind of getting back into, since we're talking about the sidewalls, kind of get back into what I was talking about with the curve profile going on with it. If you compare it to the sequel, these side rails here in the sequel are almost perfectly straight, and a lot of people had a lot of controversy about these. But again, talking about the proprietary materials that they use for it, they can make this plastic as pretty much as stiff as they want, almost as stiff as if it were like steel. Maybe not as strong as steel or anything like that, but they can make it extremely stiff. So even if it has this weird little curve, I think it's a little weird, but just upon first looking at it. But that curve that you see that's going on in here, you would think that that would cause a problem with the pinch or anything like that, which I don't feel this is going to warp pretty much, but it's not going to do anything to affect the pinch. It just looks different than what most people are used to. Same with the sequel. But I've had a couple people ask me about that, so that's why I bring that up. The prequel, much like the sequel, has the name as the ball stop, which I think is pretty sweet. The one thing that I kind of slightly frown upon, since I'm a traditional kind of guy, is that you can't really tie off the leathers like how I usually like to, because there's no holes really in the bottom of the plastic, which is fine, because I mean the whole idea is to get as much material not on the head to make it as light as possible. But due to that, you kind of have this going on with the bottom of the plastic. Kind of have this angle going up. I mean, I understand their idea behind it, but I also feel that it really should have kind of not gone at such a drastic angle, maybe a little bit less of an angle, and then it wouldn't feel like the shaft would be able to move in the plastic. But that's just my feeling. I mean, that doesn't really have anything to do with what I usually talk about, which is stringing, so other than traditional. So strings up great, can take a mid pocket, low pocket. Obviously, you can take a high pocket if you really wanted to, but it's designed for that pretty much solid mid pocket, can shift low. If you string pretty much a straight up low pocket, because of how the sidewalls are designed, it'll force that ball right up under your shooter. So if you like to take really hard shots and whatnot, just have that in mind. So that is the Epoch Hawk Prequel for you guys. I hope you guys got a little bit of knowledge out of it. I know I prattled on a little bit, but either way, I enjoyed talking about it. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to whatever the heck I had to say about it. So I will catch you guys later. Enjoy the rest of this video.